Coriolis, the Great Dark. Rules Quickstart. Made by Free League Publishing. Chapter 1. Introduction. At last, blessed by our forefathers, we have reached the end of our journey. Captain Arfam Nago of the vessel. Darsiban, upon reaching Jamua, at the edge of known space, the survivors of a dying civilization have made their haven. In a hollowed-out asteroid, they've named Ship City. The brave and the foolish are plotting their next venture into the Great Dark, arguing about what secrets lay hiding in the dark space, praying for a brighter future, bragging and backstabbing to get on board the next great ship expedition into the unknown. You are one of those fools and heroes, ruin delvers, artifact scavengers, or mystery hunters, depending on who you ask. You are the agents of the exclusive Explorers Guild, and your job is to go where few others dare. You seek the enigmatic ruins of the Lost Horizon, to solve its mysteries and help your city and your people survive. Ship City is dying, but you and your fellow explorers can find a way forward. This is your mission. This is your destiny, your creed. Explore or perish. Into the abyss. In Coriolis, the Great Dark, you are part of a crew of explorers ready to venture out into this new universe, the Lost Horizon. You have your shuttle, your trusted crewmates, and a warding guardian in the form of your bird, a strange alien creature that can help you on your journeys. You all have your separate backgrounds and homes in the asteroid-metropolis called Ship City. You are employed by a small guild, the Explorers Guild, and are ready to take on the missions they will give you. Delving into the ruins will bring out the best of you all. You'll have to overcome dangerous environments, face creatures from the dark, and endure the ubiquitous Blight, a plague affecting both mind and body. And other crews of explorers will become your opponents as you vie for the same artifacts and knowledge. In the metropolis of Ship City, you may take on missions and investigations to help your guild and build your crew's reputation with the other major players of the city. The Diaspora, once upon a time a disparate group of people, left a part of the universe called the Third Horizon their home. They called themselves the Diaspora, and they were fleeing a universe at war, setting their course towards a faint signal from the depths of space. A beacon, they presumed, from the legendary and long-lost generation ship Nadir. They set course with the hope that, however futile it seemed, Nadir could somehow bring salvation to them all. The voyage of the Diaspora was long and arduous and almost tore their fleet apart, and it was a considerably diminished fleet that finally arrived at a lone system in unknown space. They named the system Jamua and rejoiced that their trials were at an end. And then the signal went silent. Jamua and a Lost Horizon. The initial optimism soon gave way to despair. Jamua was a barren expanse, its vast emptiness broken only by a scattering of asteroids and the presence of two gas giants. The remnants of the fleet found sanctuary on a lone asteroid, where they began their search for ways to venture further into this new horizon. A portal was eventually found. However, it was long dead and inactive. There was no way forward from Jamua and no turning back. The Diaspora had discovered a lost horizon, the city at the edge of nowhere, what was thought to be a temporary settlement intended to last just long enough to gather their strength before setting out further into the new horizon, became something else completely. The Diaspora used the remnants of the fleet, anchored to the asteroid, as their primary living quarters, and as time went by, they started to break down unused and broken ships for constructions on the asteroid, and the settlement grew. A few generations later, Ship City, or the Ship City of Coriolis, the Eternal, and Jamua the First and Last, as the tongue-rolling official name is, has become something much more than the makeshift harbour of the past. Welded and strung together into a tangled labyrinth in and around the asteroid, it has grown in all directions at once, out of necessity and boredom, with whatever was thought needed, from elevators to drug dens. Ship City now is a sight to behold, an asteroid-metropolis of impressive proportions, and although resources are still scarce and individual resolve might falter, a beacon in the dark. The dying city, Aluminum Bay, at the far end of Ship City, is a bustling harbour, filled with crane rats, hull painters, and dock workers, all making sure that the great ships are serviced and ready for the next expedition. Return to the surface and head up the tower of the astrolabe. Here, the eyes of the Navigators Guild peer out into the great dark, mulling its mysteries. They might look down on the city from time to time and realize what a wonder it really is. The River of Stars. For a long time, the people of Ship City thought themselves trapped in the Jumua system. The Dead Star Portal seemed to make any further exploration impossible. This all changed with the discovery of the slipstream phenomenon. Often called the River of the Stars, the slipstream offers a way of travel far surpassing the speed of traditional space voyages. The true nature and origin of the slipstream remains a mystery, yet it is the lifeline that sustains both Ship City and the dreams of its people. However, navigating this celestial current comes with its challenges, necessitating ships that are both stronger and more durable to endure the intense forces at play. Through costly trial and error, the shipwrights eventually managed to find a way to master the stream. The great ships, built to withstand the punishment that the unstable slipstream dishes out, the great ships are the pride of Ship City. Few in number and enormously expensive to build, great ships are the largest vessels constructed by the people of Ship City. Often owned by a consortium of different guilds, these ships require a crew of hundreds and enough supplies to last years. To this date, there have been a dozen so-called great expeditions in the history of the diaspora and scores of lesser ones. Each expedition is a major undertaking, sponsored by several guilds and often away for months before returning home to port. They seek out valuable resources, stake claims, and catalogue any ruins encountered. Without the expeditions, Ship City would most likely wither and die. Great ships provide the people of Ship City with a constant source of strange tales, songs, and books. Most know the story of the Great Jumua, the very first great ship, but a particularly popular tale is that of the famous Ordana and its discoveries, turned into a score of theatre plays and Zinti novels. The dark fate of the Hammurabi, lost with all hands on its third voyage down the slipstream, is spoken of in much more reserved, often whispered tones. The ruins. The ruins are for obvious reasons at the heart of the mystery surrounding the Lost Horizon, and still pose a formidable puzzle. Dotted throughout the system on desolate moons and asteroids, they are, of course, the foremost proof that the diaspora was not the first to come to this part of the universe. Beyond that, very little is known about their nature. They come in different varieties, often monumental in size, and are largely of Chthonian nature. Even though you can find some structures above ground, the way they often expand underground is strange indeed. They all pose different challenges to exploration, from ancient defense systems to creative constructions that hinder intruders. But the biggest challenge of all is what is called the Blight. The Blight. The Blight is the great curse of the Lost Horizon, and its manifestations a constant quandary and source of fear for the people of Ship City. This plague appears to have its origin in the ruins. There, it seems, It started and left a warped land full of strange phenomena before crawling out through the system, lessening in effect as it went. The most apparent effect of the Blight is massive corruption of structures and biology, causing both strange mutations and death. The closer you get to the ruins, the more serious and strange the symptoms get. For explorers, the Blight is a deadly adversary and poses a threat even with all the gear and suits they have developed. There are also other effects of the Blight that reveal a more mystical dimension to its presence. The eerie dreams reported when travelers come in contact with Blight infestations are just one manifestation of this, but even more obvious are the many uncanny phenomena that occur in places with high Blight concentration. The birds. The presence of Blight in the Lost Horizon made the future look bleak for the Ship City dwellers. This changed with the discovery of the birds, or the Garuda as they also are called. When these creatures, or constructs, or automatons, depending on frame of thought, were encountered in the ruins, the explorers were unsure of their value and treated them, at best, as mere curiosities or pets. However, after some time, explorers started to notice that the Garuda had strange abilities, and when they discovered that the presence of the birds mitigated the effects of the Blight, sometimes eliminating it altogether, things changed completely. It is now clear that the Blight and the birds are part of the same enigma, fighting what seems to be an ancient battle in the dark. The birds represent a promise of a way forward in Jumua, and today, most exploring vessels carry birds on their journeys. Although the Great Dark is still a dangerous place, the birds have given the explorers a fighting chance. The guilds and other factions. When the diaspora arrived at the Jumua system, circumstances created the need for a new organization to solve the urgent problems the community faced. The squabbling factions, bound by old rivalries and traditions, were ill-equipped to meet these demands, leading to the rise of new groups. These collectives set out to navigate the unfamiliar territory, repair and construct ships, and secure a reliable source of food. Over time, they evolved into influential entities, the Navigators, tasked with calculating routes and courses through the new system, the Machinists, experts in shipbuilding and repair, and the Gardeners, who focused on food cultivation. These three are now the dominating forces in Ship City and have carved out their respective cultural and political dominions. Although mostly amiable in public, and obviously dependent on each other, they are, behind the scenes, notoriously suspicious and paranoid, and the power struggles run deep within the city. The Navigators Guild. The Navigators Guild is the single most important faction in the Jumua system, and the closest thing to a government that the people of Ship City have. Viewed by many as somewhat aloof theoretical academics, the Navigators are a curious mix of pragmatic power brokers and idealistic mystical scientists. The Navigators Guild is ruled by the Archimandrite, an honorary title endowed by the Grand Council. Polyatras, the current Archimandrite, is of a very advanced age and is rumored to be isolated in his observatory at the top of the astrolabe, the Guild's lavish tower that stretches through lower parts of the chasm, all the way via the dome, through Hull Town and into space itself. The Machinists Guild. Members of the Machinists Guild see themselves as the caretakers of the colossal mechanical creature that is Ship City. If this marvel of the Jumahan civilization fails, so will the people of the diaspora. They call it the Cherolab, the engine that never dies. The Machinist Guild is much more than a collection of crude mechanics. Ever since the founding of Ship City, they have honed a culture of arts and crafts. You'll find the greatest artists among their number, and the deeper you go into the turbine halls of the city, the more colorful and decorated the surroundings become. Their hull painters are greatly sought after for their ability to transform the typically stark exteriors of ships into breathtaking canvases. The Gardeners Guild. The fact that this isolated outpost of humanity has thriving plant life is solely the result of the gardeners. The smallest of the major guilds in strict numbers, the gardeners make up for it with the pure majesty of the cave gardens, the beauty of the hanging gardens of the chasm, and the miracle that is the alabaster forest deep inside Ship City. The guild sees plants as perhaps the purest expression of life, and there are radicals within their ranks that claim that it is the plants and not the people that are the true jewel of the Jumahan civilization. Other segments of the Gardeners Guild are more pragmatic, and it is a well-known secret that the guild controls most of the nightlife and restaurants in the city, and some even whisper that they cooperate with the Black Toad for distribution of drugs. The Coriolites. In the shadowy depths of Ship City lies the inner sanctum, the city's dusty heart. In the murky gloom, the Coriolite clans reside as a vestige of the old horizon, still murmuring prophecies and prayers from a glorious past and with a dream of returning evermore. Called the Nest by less reverent dwellers, this place houses parts of the Coriolite mothership Kua in its majestic glory. The Coriolites are a collection of families that hold their heritage from the old horizon to be sacrosanct. They view the diaspora as regretful and the lost horizon as a stopgap in their history. Their beliefs are anchored in the religions and traditions of old, magnified and transformed by the sorrow that is their predicament. They see themselves as the legitimate inheritors to power and view the guilds as a necessary evil that eventually should fade into oblivion. There is no single leader over the Coriolites, but in the traditions and religious ceremonies that bind the families together, the masked theocrat, known only as the Sedalian, is often presented as something of a figurehead. The Black Toad. The guild system is what keeps Ship City alive, but it is by its very nature decentralized and fragmented, and that is where the dark tentacles of the Black Toad come in. This shadowy group has as long a history as Ship City itself, and pervasive rumors insist that it was founded in the old horizon and came over with the diaspora. It seems to have an almost sect-like structure, and some assume that the Toad is a reference to some kind of deity. Its members wear a tattoo of a toad somewhere on their bodies, usually where it can be hidden beneath clothing. Besides running small-time rackets and classic extortion in the Chasm and Hull Town, the Black Toad runs profitable smuggling operations from the outer fields and even from the far colonies. The Toads lurk in the shadows and can be found all over Ship City. However, it is in Hull Town that this criminal organization makes its home and where the elusive Athenian is rumored to hide. Little is known about the Black Toad leader, and views on her differ radically. Lesser players. Sometimes called the Fourth Guild, the mining combine is based outside of Ship City, primarily in the outer fields, where they fully control the extraction and shipping of valuable noble gas in the Jumwa system. Without the gas, Ship City's machinery would stutter and die, and no more great ships would embark on the slipstream. This fact has made the Combine a force to be reckoned with in recent years. Mentioned with equal fear and respect in the speakeasies of Aluminum Bay, the Wreckers are the scourge of the guilds and a constant nail in the eye of the starfarers of Ship City. The screeching wails of their jamming transmitters freeze the blood of any crew that is unfortunate enough to hear it. What Ship City builds, the Wreckers destroy, or so it is said. In recent years, Ship City has been shaken by sabotage from a clandestine group of radicals. Prophets of the Unseeing Star, as they call themselves, have been making their mark on Ship City with several daring attacks aimed at the exploring community. Even though little is known of the group, evidence points to members of the Coriolis clans, and it seems centered around an opposition to the whole project of Ship City itself. The Explorers Guild, Ship City's youngest guild, was founded by the forceful Master Mosca when major guilds started to question their long-term engagement in the ruins. The challenges posed by the Blight, despite the advantage granted by the birds to the explorers, made the ruins perilously dangerous and resource-intensive. There was a growing sentiment that the potential rewards of the ruins were failing to live up to expectations. Master Mosca managed, through considerable political maneuvering, to convince the three major guilds that it would be in their interest to place an independent guild in charge of ruin exploration. She masterfully played the paranoid guilds against each other and received their blessing to build the foundation of a new guild. The Delving Business, the Explorers Guild, is a loosely knit organization that operates from the Outpost, an old cantina turned headquarters within a repurposed ship hull. Its name preserved by Master Mosca as the heart of guild operations, housing the archaeology department, archives, and quartermaster's office. The outpost serves as the central hub for the guild's activities. Ruin delvers, forming independent teams, are handpicked and trained by Master Mosca and her team. While not directly employed by the guild, they've secured their spot in Master Mosca's ledger and enjoy access to the Vault, a guild-exclusive bar where tales of adventure are shared. Missions can be scarce, and in between, the crews usually take on other jobs to supplement their income. But you better be ready when opportunity comes knocking. You are one such crew. Are you ready for your next mission? Good luck.